I woke up with a scream stuck halfway in my throat. My chest felt heavy, like someone had pinned me to the bed. My heart was already hammering before I even opened my eyes. That primal panic that hits when your body knows something is wrong before your brain does. And then I saw her. My new housekeeper, Leela, was on top of me. For a heartbeat, I didn't process what I was seeing. Morning light poured through the window behind her, wrapping her in a halo of gold that almost made the sight surreal. Her dark hair was disheveled, sticking to her forehead with sweat, her breathing quick and shallow. Her eyes, wide, terrified, were fixed not on me, but somewhere beyond the bed. She wasn't saying anything. Her lips trembled as she raised one trembling hand. It took a moment to realize there was something metallic in it. A knife. I froze completely, my throat tightening. Every muscle in my body screamed to move, to shove her off, but something about the look in her eyes stopped me. That wasn't anger. It wasn't even madness. It was fear, Lila, I whispered, my voice hoarse. What the hell are you doing? Her gaze snapped to mine, sharp and frantic, like she'd just realized I was awake. Don't move, she said, her voice shaking so hard it was almost a sob. Please don't move. Lila, she pressed her free hand to my shoulder, pushing me down, not hard, just enough to keep me still. You don't understand. If you move, if you make a sound. She stopped. Her head turned slightly toward the window. I followed her gaze. Something was tapping against the glass. Just a faint sound. Rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. At first, I thought it was the wind, a branch swaying outside. But the house was too high off the ground for that. This was the second floor, my bedroom overlooking the forest behind the property. The trees were far from the window, and the tapping wasn't random. It was too steady. Lila, I said again, quieter this time, what's happening? Her breathing grew louder. She looked back at me, eyes glistening with tears. They found me, she whispered. I didn't think they would so soon. They who? She shook her head sharply, as if answering would somehow make things worse. The tapping stopped. The silence that followed felt wrong, thick and suffocating, like the air itself was holding its breath. Lila moved off me in one swift motion, crouching beside the bed, with the knife held tightly. Her eyes were locked on the window. Stay down, she whispered. No matter what you hear, my instincts screamed to run, to call the police, to get out of that house, but something in her voice, raw, trembling, real, made me stay where I was. The quiet stretched. 10 seconds. 20. I could hear the faint ticking of the clock on the wall, the rustle of leaves outside. Then the tapping started again. Louder this time. Tap, tap, tap. Followed by something else. A dragging sound, slow, scraping against the outer wall, like nails trailing across wood. Lila's knuckles whitened around the knife handle. Her lips moved soundlessly, as if she was counting under her breath. Then, without warning, she darted forward and grabbed the curtain cord. I started to speak, but she hissed, "Don't!" With a sharp tug. She yanked the curtains open, and for a split second, I saw something I can never forget, a pale face pressed against the glass. Not a person, something stretched too thin, its features wrong, distorted. Eyes that were too large, black and reflective like oil. Skin that looked translucent, veins pulsing faintly beneath the surface. The face didn't move, didn't blink. It just stared inside. I recoiled, a strangled sound catching in my throat. What the... But Lila was faster. She slashed the curtain cord, sending the heavy fabric crashing back across the window. The room plunged into dimness, then silence again. For a long time, the only sound was my breathing and hers. I was half expecting the thing to smash the glass, to come crawling in, but nothing happened. The tapping had stopped. Lila didn't lower the knife. She stayed there, staring at the window like she could still see it through the curtain. Finally, I found my voice. "Lila," I said, my tone sharper now, "you're going to tell me what that was." Right now, she didn't look at me. "You shouldn't have hired me. What are you talking about?" "I shouldn't be here," she said, her voice breaking. "You weren't supposed to be home this early. You weren't supposed to see any of this." I sat up slowly, still trying to calm my racing heart. "Start from the beginning. the hell was that outside? Her head turned slightly, just enough that I could see the tears streaking her face. Not who, she said. What? That didn't make me feel any better. I don't understand, I said. You're saying there's someone after you? Her hand trembled, the knife blade glinting faintly in the dim light. It's not after me anymore, she said softly. It's after anyone who lets me in. That sent a chill crawling up my spine. What does that even mean? She looked at me then, truly looked, and for the first time I saw something behind her fear, guilt. This started before I came here, she said. The families I worked for before. They're gone. All of them. Gone. She nodded slowly. The same thing that was outside your window. It came for them too. It doesn't stop. It follows me wherever I go. That's insane, I snapped, though the word felt hollow. You're telling me some thing is stalking you through your jobs. I tried to warn them, she said, her voice breaking. I always do. But no one listens until it's too late. I stared at her, trying to process. Then why keep taking jobs? Why come here? Because running doesn't help, she whispered. And maybe. She hesitated, looking away. Maybe I wanted to end it. I didn't know what to say to that. The silence stretched again, heavy with things neither of us understood. Finally I exhaled, scrubbing a hand over my face. Okay, let's say I believe you. What do we do now? She glanced toward the curtain. If it's here already, it won't stop. But sometimes it waits for night, I frowned. Waits for night to do what? She didn't answer. Instead, she stood and moved toward the door, knife still in hand. Lock your windows. Don't go outside. Don't make any sound after dark. It can hear. Lila, I'll explain later, she said, cutting me off. If there's time. She disappeared down the hallway before I could stop her. I sat there for a long minute, staring at the curtain. The house was quiet again, but not peaceful. The air felt wrong, charged like before a storm. I told myself this was crazy, that I'd imagined it, that maybe I was still half asleep. But deep down, I knew I hadn't imagined those eyes. When I finally got up to lock the windows, I hesitated before pulling the curtain aside. My hand was shaking. The glass was cracked, not from impact, but from pressure, like something had pressed against it hard enough to leave faint, web-like fractures across the surface. And on the sill, smeared faintly in the dust, were fingerprints, long, thin, inhuman. That night, as the last light faded and the forest outside turned black, I lay awake listening to the creaks of the old house. Every time the wind brushed the windows, I flinched. I didn't see Lila again until after midnight. When I did, she was standing at the foot of my bed. Her eyes were wide, her face pale, and her voice barely more than a whisper. It's inside, she said. And it's not alone. Glass exploded inward. For an instant, light, motion, and sound became one blinding flash. Tiny shards sprayed across the room, glittering in the thin sunlight before embedding into the carpet, the walls, my face. I threw my arms over my head, but something else hit the floor first, a shadow that moved too fast to see clearly. Lila didn't scream. She lunged, her body moving on instinct, tackling me to the floor. The weight of her pinned me again, her breath hot and ragged near my ear. I felt her hand tighten around the knife. Stay down, she hissed. Don't even breathe too loud. Outside, something scraped against the window frame, the slow, deliberate sound of claws on metal. Every nerve in my body screamed to move, to run. But Lila's hand pressed flat against my chest. Her eyes were locked on the broken window, wide and glistening, her pulse hammering visibly in her throat. Then came the noise, low, guttural, like a growl, but too distorted, too mechanical. It rumbled through the air, through the floorboards, through me. Lila, I whispered, the word barely a sound. She didn't look away. If it thinks we're still asleep, it might leave, she breathed. They don't like when prey wakes too soon. They. The word echoed in my head. I wanted to ask what that meant, but my voice had vanished. The growl deepened, vibrating through the broken glass, scattered across the floor. Then came another sound, a faint sniffing, wet and close, like something dragging air through the crack in the wall. I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from gasping. Lila raised her knife slowly, her arm trembling. She didn't point it at the window, but toward the space between us and the bed. I didn't understand why, until I heard it. Something soft and deliberate brushing against the carpet. A footstep. Inside the room, every hair on my body stood on end. She mouthed the word, "Don't." The shadow moved again, gliding across the floor. I could see its shape now, a thin, elongated figure, stooping low like it didn't belong upright. It moved toward the closet, silent except for the faintest squelch, like wet fabric dragging on wood. Lila's eyes darted to mine, and I understood what she was thinking. She wanted me to run, but I couldn't. Not when she was between it and me. The thing paused at the closet door, its shape rippling faintly, as if it wasn't solid. My heart was beating so fast it hurt. Lila shifted her grip on the knife, muscles tensed. Then, without warning, the creature's head snapped toward us. The sound that came next wasn't human. It wasn't even animal. It was wrong, a guttural shriek, digital and organic at once, as though something was trying to imitate a scream, but didn't quite understand how. Lila lunged. I didn't see the strike, only heard the wet, sharp sound of steel cutting through something that shouldn't have bled. The creature staggered, shrieking again, and its outline flickered like static. For a second, its shape split apart into fragments of light before pulling itself together. "Get up!" Lila shouted. "Run!" My body finally obeyed. I scrambled to my feet, grabbing the lamp from my nightstand as the creature swung its arm, no, its limb, long and thin and jointless, across the room. It hit the wall with enough force to dent it. I threw the lamp without aiming. It shattered against the creature's shoulder, sparks flying. The light seemed to hurt it. Its body shimmered violently, its movements glitching like a corrupted video. Lila grabbed my hand. "Downstairs! Now!" We sprinted out of the room, my bare feet slipping on the floor as we hit the stairs. Behind us, the creature let out another distorted cry. I didn't dare look back. We reached the living room, and Lila skidded to the window. She yanked the heavy curtains closed, plunging the house into dimness. "Don't look at it," she said breathlessly. "It moves through reflections. It can step through glass, through polished metal, any surface that sees itself." "What the hell is it?" I gasped. She didn't answer. Instead, she knelt by the fireplace, pulling out what looked like a handful of small black stones from her apron pocket. She arranged them quickly in a circle, muttering something under her breath. The stones began to hum softly, a low vibration that I could feel in my chest. "What are you doing?" I demanded, trying to buy us a few minutes. A crash came from upstairs, followed by the sound of something heavy hitting the hallway wall. Dust rained from the ceiling. "Is that thing alone?" I asked. Her hands stilled for a second. Usually, she met my eyes. Sometimes it calls others." I opened my mouth to speak, but the lights flickered, then went out completely. The hum from the stones grew louder, their faint blue glow casting strange shadows across the room. I could see Lila's face in that dim light. She wasn't scared anymore. She was focused. Her lips moved soundlessly as she traced a line across the floor with one of the stones. Then I realized something. The stones weren't just glowing. They were bleeding light, threads of energy stretching across the carpet, connecting like spider silk. What are you doing to my house?" Lila didn't look up. "Saving it. Saving you." A thud shook the front door, once, twice, then a long crack split the wood down the middle. I stumbled backward. "It's at the door." "I know," she snapped. The door shuddered again, warping inward. The air grew colder. My breath came out in visible puffs. The thing was right outside. Lila's hands moved faster, her eyes glowing faintly now in the eerie blue light. "When it breaks through, don't run. It follows sound. If you move, it will hear. If you speak, it will know exactly where to strike." I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I couldn't. Every part of me was frozen with terror. The final blow splintered the door, sending shards flying. The creature stepped inside, or rather, unfolded inside, like it had peeled itself out of the air. Its head brushed the ceiling, its limbs were long and impossibly thin, fingers tapering to needle-like points. Its eyes, those black, bottomless pits, locked straight onto me. Layla rose slowly, stepping between us. "You can't have him," she said, voice steady. The creature tilted its head, its voice hissing through the dark like broken radio static. "He woke up." "He's not yours." The thing took a step forward, its body glitching again, flickering between solid and shadow. It lifted one arm, and the air rippled around it like heat haze. Lila moved first. She grabbed one of the glowing stones and threw it directly at the creature's chest. The instant it made contact, the stone exploded in a flash of light that filled the entire room. I threw up my arms, blinded. The shriek that followed made my eardrums ache, a noise that didn't sound like it could come from anything living. When the light faded, the creature was gone, but so was the front wall of my house. The night air rushed in, cold and silent. Lila stumbled forward, clutching her arm. Her sleeve was soaked with blood. I ran to her. "You're hurt." She pushed me away. "Don't touch me. It'll track my blood." "What?" She looked up at me then, pale and trembling. "You don't get it yet, do you? It doesn't want me anymore." "What are you talking about?" "It wants you." For a second I thought she was lying, that she was just saying anything to keep me calm. But then I noticed it. Faint, almost invisible streaks of light on my arms, the same electric threads that had run from the stones. They weren't from her spell. They were from the thing's eyes, and they were moving, crawling under my skin like veins of fire. Lila's face went white. "Oh, God," she whispered. "You looked at it too long." I backed away, my breath coming in ragged gasps. "What does that mean?" "It marked you," she said. "You can still run, but it'll find you no matter where you go." Something cold twisted inside my chest. I looked down at my arms again, at the faint shimmering lines spreading toward my hands. "Then tell me how to stop it," I said. She hesitated. "There's only one way. You have to destroy the reflection it came through." "The window?" Her eyes met mine. "No," she said quietly. "The mirror." And in that instant I remembered the mirror upstairs in my bedroom, the one directly across from my bed, facing the window, the one that was still uncovered. Before I could say a word, something upstairs groaned, then faintly, a single sound. Tap, tap, tap. The same rhythm as before, only now it was coming from inside the house. The sound came again, that horrible rhythmic tapping, soft but deliberate, echoing down through the ceiling. It wasn't just noise, it was intent. Something upstairs was waiting. Each beat was slow, patient, almost thoughtful, like it wanted us to know it had time. Lila's eyes snapped to the ceiling, every muscle in her body tightening. Her voice came out low and breathless. "It's moved. It's learning the layout of the house." The words sent a chill down my spine. "Learning? What do you mean, learning?" She grabbed my arm hard enough to hurt. "It remembers structures. It maps sound and space. Every time we move, it listens. Every creak, every breath. If it finds a reflection, it'll come through." I swallowed, my throat dry. "There's a mirror in the bedroom and one in the hallway." Her grip tightened. "Then it's already inside." Before I could respond, a faint creak came from the stairs. One slow step. The kind of sound wood makes when something heavy presses down on it. Then another. It was coming down. Lila turned to the scattered stones glowing faintly on the floor. Some had gone dark from the explosion earlier. She crouched quickly, her hands moving fast, rearranging them into a tight circle again. I could see blood seeping through her sleeve, where the cut on her arm hadn't stopped bleeding. "What are you doing?" I whispered. "Buying us time," she said. "These stones keep it from reading us clearly." It can sense the shape of movement but not detail, so it knows we're here, just not exactly where. She nodded. Which means if you step outside the circle, you'll lead it straight to you. I looked down. The faint blue glow surrounded us like a fragile bubble. My whole body screamed to move, to run, to get out of the house, but I didn't dare step past that light. The footsteps drew closer. The thing was halfway down the stairs now. Every few seconds it paused, as if listening. Lila's breathing was controlled, too steady for the chaos around us. I realized she'd done this before, faced this before. She leaned closer to me. Listen carefully. You can't fight it. The only way to stop it is to sever its reflection anchor. The mirror, I said again. Yes, but not just any mirror. The one it marked you through. I thought of the large mirror in my bedroom, the one I'd bought because it made the space feel bigger, brighter. I'd never imagined it might be a door. A soft crack echoed through the house. Not a footstep this time. A shattering sound. Lila froze. It's breaking glass, she whispered. It's making more entry points. The reality of her words hit like ice. You're saying there could be more than one of those things now? Her expression darkened. If it splits its reflection, yes. It becomes more copies of itself, but weaker. Weaker sounds good, she shook her head. Not if there's enough of them. The light around us flickered. I felt something shift in the air, pressure, like the moment before a storm hits. The faint smell of wet metal drifted down from upstairs. Then came the sound of glass, crunching beneath invisible feet. Lila stood abruptly. It's found a way in downstairs. The realization hit too late. Before I could even turn, something slammed into the wall behind me. The impact rattled my bones. A pale, thin arm shot through the drywall, fingers groping blindly, twitching as if feeling for us. The blue light flared where it crossed the circle, sizzling like fire touching oil. The arm jerked back, the smell of burned flesh filling the air. Lila's face twisted in pain, not fear this time, but fury. It's testing the barrier. It's getting smarter. Then we need to move before it figures it out. She looked at the stairway, at the windows, at the faint shimmer of glass in the darkened frames. No, the mirrors. We have to end this before night fully falls. I glanced out the window. The last traces of daylight were fading behind the trees. Shadows stretched across the walls like claws. Lila pressed a shaking hand to her wound, then tore off a strip of her uniform and tied it tight. You're going to the bedroom mirror, she said. I'll handle the hallway one. I shook my head immediately. I'm not leaving you alone with that thing. Her eyes met mine, sharp and steady. It's not a choice. If we both go the same way, it will corner us. We need to split its focus. If one of us fails, the other still has a chance. Every instinct screamed no. But deep down, I knew she was right. She pulled another small black stone from her pocket and pressed it into my hand. If it gets close, throw this at its face. The light disorients it. Don't hesitate. What happens after? Her mouth tightened. After? We'll find out if either of us makes it. Another crash shook the house. The sound came from the kitchen this time, metal scraping metal, followed by the unmistakable thud of something massive dropping onto the floor. It's everywhere, I whispered. No, Lila said. Not yet. Just close enough to touch. Then she did something unexpected. She grabbed my face, forcing my eyes to hers. Listen to me. Whatever happens, don't look directly into the glass. Destroy it blind if you have to. Promise me. I nodded, my chest tight. Go, she said, releasing me. And if you see me again before it's over, make sure it's really me. I didn't understand what she meant, but there wasn't time to ask. I bolted from the living room, clutching the stone. The hallway was darker now, the air thicker. Every step I took made the floor creak just enough to make me flinch. The light switches didn't work. Every bulb in the house was dead. Behind me, I could hear Lila's footsteps moving in the opposite direction. For the first time since this nightmare started, we weren't together. That terrified me more than the creature itself. As I reached the stairs, I heard something whisper my name. Daniel. I froze. The voice was hers. Lila's. Daniel, stop. It came from behind me, but I just heard her go the other way. I didn't turn around. "Nice try," I muttered through clenched teeth. A sound like laughter followed, soft and distorted, echoing in layers. Then silence. I took the stairs two at a time. The upper floor was worse, the air colder, the smell stronger. That wet metal scent burned my throat. I could see faint handprints on the walls now, smudges of dark residue that trailed toward my room. The door was open. The mirror waited inside. Even from the hallway, I could see its surface rippling faintly, like heat above asphalt. Shadows moved across it that didn't belong to me. I approached slowly, the stone clutched tight in my palm. My breath came shallow. Something moved in the reflection. It was me, but not. My reflection stepped forward when I didn't. Its head tilted slightly, a small, unnatural smile curving its lips. My heart stuttered, then the reflection reached out of the glass. The sound of cracking filled the room as its fingers pressed against the surface, stretching it like fabric. I stumbled back, fumbling for anything, a chair, a book, anything to throw. Then I remembered the stone. I hurled it with everything I had. The second it hit the mirror, there was a burst of blue light so bright it seared my eyes. The reflection screamed, its voice overlapping mine, the sound filling the entire room. The mirror shattered, raining silver fragments across the floor. When I blinked the light from my eyes, the reflection was gone. I was alone, or so I thought, until I heard something from downstairs, a shriek. Lila's voice. I ran. My legs barely obeyed me, but I forced them down the steps 2, 3 at a time. Smoke was rising from the living room. The air buzzed with energy. "Lila!" I shouted. She stood by the hallway mirror, her knife buried deep into the glass. The surface rippled, trying to heal around the blade, but she pressed harder. The thing's shape flickered within it, writhing like it was trapped underwater. "Don't stop!" I shouted. "Keep going!" She screamed, driving the blade deeper. Cracks spiderwebbed across the mirror, glowing white-hot. Then with a thunderous snap, it exploded outward. The shockwave knocked us both to the floor. I hit the ground hard, gasping, my vision swimming. The air went silent. No tapping, no scraping, nothing. Lila was slumped against the wall, chest rising and falling. I crawled toward her, half blind. "You did it," I said. "It's gone." She opened her mouth, but no words came out. Her eyes rolled back. Something moved in the corner of the room. I turned and froze. The shards of the broken mirror weren't still. They were moving, trembling like insects trying to crawl back together. Light danced across their edges, forming shapes that shouldn't exist. "Lila," I said, my voice breaking. "Get up, please get up." She didn't move. The shards began to rise off the ground, circling slowly, drawn toward the spot where her knife had been, and in the hum of the gathering light, a single whisper filled the room, soft, layered, and unmistakably human. "You destroyed the door." I stared, heart pounding. The light grew brighter, and in it I saw something taking shape, something familiar. It was Lila, or what was left of her, her reflection, standing upright, smiling the same strange, wrong smile I'd seen in my mirror upstairs. And she whispered my name. For a moment my brain refused to accept what I was seeing. Lila was still slumped on the ground beside me, unmoving, blood running down her temple. But another Lila was standing in front of me, her outline flickering faintly like a projection trying to stabilize. She looked the same dark hair, same trembling lips, but her eyes weren't hers. They were pools of mirrored glass, empty and reflective, showing only me. She tilted her head, the motion too precise, too deliberate. When she spoke, her voice came in two tones, one soft and human, one hollow and echoing. "You broke the mirror," she said. "You opened the rest." I crawled backward instinctively, my hand brushing against the shards on the floor. They were still humming faintly, pulsing with a strange warmth. Each fragment glowed for a moment when I touched it, like they recognized something in me. The reflection of Lila crouched down slowly, her movements liquid and unnatural. "She thought destroying the doorway would end it," she said, her voice calm, almost kind. "But every fracture makes another reflection. Every piece is another world." I could barely breathe. "You're not her." Her mirrored eyes blinked once, the sound sharp like glass clinking. "I am what she left behind." She broke the connection, but not before it took something from her. Memories, shape, voice, all reflections hunger for a form. She stepped closer. The floorboards creaked beneath her bare feet, but the sound wasn't right. It came half a second too late, like an echo chasing its source. "Stay back," I warned. My hand fumbled for one of the black stones Lila had given me earlier, the ones that glowed. My fingers brushed against the last one, still faintly warm. She smiled. "That won't help you anymore." The energy in those stones was her life. When she bled, they dimmed. I stared down. The stone's glow was gone. "Why me?" I demanded. "Why this house? Why her?" The reflection tilted her head again. "Because you looked. You saw through the glass, and it saw you back. That's how the echo begins. She brought it here, but you invited it in. I didn't. Yes, you did." Her voice layered over itself, each word vibrating through my skull. "You looked too long. The mirror marked you. You are part of it now." The shards on the floor began to tremble, rising slowly into the air. They swirled around her like a halo, catching what little light was left in the ruined house. I could see flashes of things inside them. People's faces, rooms that weren't mine, worlds that didn't exist. Some of those faces screamed silently, pressing against the glass from the other side. Lila tried to trap it before. The reflection said. That's why it followed her from house to house. She was the cage. But now that cage is broken. I grabbed a chunk of broken wood from the floor and forced myself to stand. Then maybe I can break you too. Her smile widened, too wide. You can't break a reflection without breaking yourself. Before I could react, she lunged. The movement was impossible, instant, fluid, like she'd stepped through space instead of across it. One moment she was several feet away, the next her hand was around my throat, cold and sharp as metal. I gasped, swinging the wood blindly. It cracked against her shoulder, sending a spray of glass shards flying. But there was no blood, no cry of pain. The wound simply rippled and reformed. She leaned close, her breath cold on my cheek. You don't belong in this world anymore. Come back with us. I drove my elbow into her ribs hard. She staggered, flickering violently, her image distorting like a TV losing signal. I stumbled backward, lungs burning, my eyes catching on the old grandfather clock against the far wall. Its glass face reflected the scene perfectly. Her, me, the wreckage. And then in the reflection, I saw something else. The real Lila, bloody, broken but alive, moving. Her eyes opened, and for a second she met my gaze through the glass. Behind you, she mouthed. I spun just in time to duck the reflection's strike. Her hand smashed through the wall where my head had been, splintering wood. I didn't hesitate. I grabbed one of the larger mirror shards from the air and drove it upward into her chest. For an instant she froze. The shard pierced through her form, and for the first time she looked uncertain. Her mirrored eyes flickered, and through them I saw flashes of her, the real Lila, her face, her voice, the memory of her laughter echoing faintly in my mind. Then the reflection screamed. It wasn't a sound, it was a vibration that tore through the air, through me, through the entire house. The walls cracked, the light dimmed, and every mirror in the house, from the one on the stairwell to the fragments on the floor, began to shatter one by one. When the last piece exploded, silence fell. I stood there, trembling, surrounded by fragments of glass that glittered faintly like fallen stars. My ears rang, my lungs burned, and the reflection was gone. Lila, I whispered. A soft sound came from behind me. I turned and saw her, bruised, pale but alive, propped against the wall where she'd fallen earlier. She looked up at me, her breathing shallow but steady. You did it, she said, her voice barely a whisper. I dropped the glass shard, my hands shaking. You're hurt, she gave a weak smile. I've been worse. I knelt beside her. What was that thing, really? Her eyes fluttered closed for a moment, then opened again. A reflection of us, she murmured. Every mirror holds one. They're not just light and glass. They're versions of us that never lived, never breathed, never got to exist. They envy what they see. And when someone stares too long sometimes, they find a way to cross over. I swallowed hard. You mean it's still out there? She shook her head faintly. Not anymore. You shattered its anchor. But reflections, They never really die. They just wait for another window. Her head sagged slightly, and I caught her shoulders. Hey, stay with me. Her hand found mine, cold but steady. You're marked now, she said softly. It saw you. Remember that. Never stand in front of a mirror in the dark. Lila, don't. But her hand went limp. Her eyes fluttered once, then closed. I froze, my breath catching. No, I whispered. No, 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 but she didn't move. The faint hum of energy that had surrounded her since I met her was gone. The house was still. For a long time I just sat there beside her, the faint creak of the wind against the broken walls the only sound left. The blue light from the stones had faded completely, leaving the room in shadows. Eventually I stood, numb, and walked toward the front door. It hung half-broken, splintered from where the creature had entered. Outside, dawn was creeping through the trees. The air was cold but clean. I didn't look back. I made it halfway down the porch before I noticed it, something glinting faintly near the edge of the doorway. One of the mirror shards, small and perfect, somehow untouched by the chaos. It reflected the morning sky and my face, only it wasn't quite right. My reflection smiled. I froze. In the reflection, my lips curved upward, but mine didn't. My heart stopped cold. The shard pulsed once, faintly, as if in greeting. No, I whispered. You're gone. I killed you. The smile in the glass widened. Then softly the reflection spoke in Lila's voice. You can't kill what's part of you. I dropped the shard instantly, stumbling back. It landed face up on the porch. The sunlight hit it, and for just a second, I saw movement within it, shadows stretching, flickering, forming shapes that looked like people. Then the shard cracked, splitting clean down the center. The silence that followed was thick, heavy, wrong. I left it there. I didn't take anything from that house. Not my things, not my phone, not even my shoes. I just walked until the forest swallowed the house from view. Days passed. The authorities called it a gas explosion. They found no sign of anyone else. No trace of Lila, no record she'd ever worked for the agency I'd hired her through. They said the mirror fragments in the wreckage were fused into the walls like molten glass. I moved to a new city, new apartment. No mirrors, not one. For a while it was quiet. Peaceful even. But peace is fragile when you've seen what looks back from behind the glass. It was 3 weeks later when it happened. Woke one night to a faint sound in the corner of my dark bedroom. Tap, tap, tap. I froze, my breath caught in my throat. Slowly, I turned my head toward the sound. My laptop was open on the desk. The black screen was dark but glossy, reflecting the faint outline of the room, and me lying in bed. Except in the reflection, I wasn't alone. A shape leaned over my sleeping form, hair falling over its face, and before I could move, before I could scream, the reflection looked up, and I heard her voice whisper from the dark, "Miss me?" Then the screen flickered once, and the room went completely black.